Hi there, good afternoon once again and welcome to Vanguard Live. Of course, it's going to be another exciting edition of our lunchtime discourse here on Vanguard Live, broadcasting to you from Lagos, Southwest, Nigeria. My name is Bankole Ido. Of course, today we have a very interesting topic that has been generating a whole lot of reaction, in the media space. Of course, we'll be looking at the new electricity tariff and, of course, what implications that would have on the Nigerian economy. Well, we understand that, of course, there's been a whole lot of back and forth as to whether we should. Of course, there should be increase in the electricity tariff or not. But just yesterday, Nigeria woke up to the news that it has been approved, by the federal government, and that has, generated a whole lot of negative reactions. I need to tell you, because so many people are of the opinion that there is really no power supply anywhere. Of course, what a lot of Nigerians are saying is that they've been experiencing epileptic power supply in recent times, so there is of course no justification for any increase in tariff of electricity. Well, I won't be doing this alone. I have with me, joining me via Zoom all the way from Abuja, Mr. Uket Ubonga. Mr. Uket Ubonga is the National Secretary of the Nigeria Electricity Consumer Advocacy Network, NERC. Mr. Uket, you're welcome to the show.
Thank you, and good afternoon.
Yeah, good afternoon. Well, you are actually aware of the fact that there's been increments in the tariff, for electricity supply in the country, and of course, I know you are aware that is generating a whole lot of reaction in Nigeria. But before we go into details, let us look at where all this started from. Of course, shortly after Goodluck Jonathan came into power, the power supply, of course, NEPA was actually privatized, right? And a whole lot of people felt that was going to provide some succor in the area of enjoying power supply in Nigeria. But then that remains a kind of mirage till this moment, right? So let us start off with the privatization of the Gencos and the Discos. Well, for the sake of our viewers that do not understand what Gencos and Disco is all about, Gencos are those that generate the supply, the electricity supply, while Discos are those that distribute it. Mr. Uket, please can you tell us how the journey to privatization of power supply in Nigeria started?
Well, thank you very much for the question. The privatization of the power sector in November 2013
right.
came as a welcome development and with very high expectations.
Right.
Nigerians were told that handing over the power assets, as the case was in 2013,
right.
We were going to be guaranteed an efficient, affordable, and safe Nigerians are yet to have efficient, affordable electricity and affordable power. Rather, the situation has become worse. Before the privatization, at least under the power holding company, or what you call NEPA.
All right, we've just lost Mr. Uket Ubonga. That happens. He is the National Secretary of the Nigeria Electricity Consumer Advocacy Network, NERC, and he has been trying to tell us how the journey to privatization of power supply in Nigeria. Okay, yeah, of course I can hear you.
Are you hearing me now?
Yeah, loud and clear, Mr. Okay.
Go
ahead. Go ahead.
Now, 6 years down the line,
right,
with what is happening in the sector, and with the investor companies that took over the power assets, Nigerians are yet to sigh of relief. Nigerians are yet to the depths of the privatization sector.
No, Mr. Uket, I understand that.
Nigerians are yet to be metered, so we don't know. We keep on blaming, passing the blame to either government, the discos are blaming this.
Well, Mr. Uket, alright, if you're just joining us, of course this is Vanguard Live, and of course it is lunchtime discourse. We've been looking at the new electricity tariff and of course the implication on the Nigerian economy. Well, I've been with Mr. Uket Ubonga, the National Secretary, Nigerian Electricity.
And others are blaming that, and we are yet to make a headway.
Right. Okay, well, Mr. Uket, you seem, to sound very, very, pessimistic, in terms of what you or your expectation, from the Gencos. All right, we lost Mr. Uket there. That's owing primarily to very, very poor network. We go on a short break, and when we are back, well, we will continue with the discussion. Yeah, welcome back. Of course, it is still lunchtime discourse here on Vanguard Live. And of course, well, my name still remains Bankole Idowu Emmanuel. Well, we've been looking at the new power tariff and, of course, the implication on the Nigerian economy. Of course, we've been getting a whole lot of reaction. Of course, Mr. Uket Ubonga, has been speaking with us about what he feels, the Gencos and of course discos should be doing, rather than just hiking the tariff. Well, let's quickly go to social media and see what our viewers are saying, and then we come back shortly. Okay, well, let me start off with Adebimpe Musbaudin. Okay, Musbaudin is saying that what do you expect from a failed institution? Well, after all the 2020 budget and all of that, well, as you can see, people are not really happy with the tariff increment. Okay, let's see if there is another comment here. Okay, someone, John Shepherd, is saying that it's like this government is broke. Are they all after money and more revenue, yet nothing to show for it? Okay, you don't think of what better the lives of our masses instead of Okay, well, I think I can go ahead with that uh, comments. Okay, let's see if we have another one. Okay, well, Olusegun Father is saying that next level too bad. Okay, he's saying that next level is too bad. Well, Ami Osho is saying that Nigeria is a place where if you scale through, then every other thing is better for you. Well, I don't know what he's trying to talk about there. Okay, let us look at. Let's take one other comment. Well, Ibiri God Day saying that being in Nigeria at this trying time is worse. Well, than living in hell. Well, he's entitled to his opinion. Well, before we go back to what the social media is saying or what, of course, comments we are getting on this show, let me remind you that if you're just joining us, of course, it's still lunchtime discuss here on Vanguard Live. Of course, you can keep the comments coming. Well, we are going to review it while we wait for Mr. Uket Obonga to join us live all the way from Abuja. Okay, well, let's see if there is another comment we can take here. Okay, this is coming from Okonkwo Pastor John. He's saying that this is a pure act of wickedness, and it is not a sincere one coming from the government of Nigeria. Well, that is coming from Okonkwo Pastor John. Well, you can keep the comments coming while we wait for Mr. Uket Ubonga. Well, let me quickly remind you that earlier this year, that was during the pandemic precisely, NERC actually came up with the idea of hiking the tariff of electricity, and of course that met stiff resistance from the National Assembly, and the pure reason given then why that bill was stopped was the fact that it was during the pandemic, and they said that it will be, of course, not really good for Nigerians. They are still grappling with a whole lot of financial constraints at that point of time, and then hiking electricity tariff is, of course, going to look like a kind of wickedness when the likes of Ghana and other countries we are trying to subsidize electricity rates in their country. Well, but we woke up to the news yesterday when we were told that the prices of electricity tariff, of course, has been hiked, and of course Nigerians are not really taking that lightly. Okay, let us see. I think we would go on a short break now. Of course, we'll come back shortly to take some of your comments on the show. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back to the show. Of course, Mr. Uket Obonga is live with us all the way from Abuja. Okay, Mr. Uket. Well, of course, we were discussing, the performance of the discos, and of course, justification for the privatization so far, and that brings me to this question. Do you think they've really done well? Because a whole lot of people are saying that government should take possession. Do you think they've done well so far?
Well, Nigerians out there in the streets know that the discos, the gencos have performed very badly, because you measure performance by the availability of services,
right?
Affordable electricity, availability of electricity,
right,
and the efficiency in service delivery,
right?
And they have failed in these three,
right?
So nobody say, okay, let us look
but Mr. Uket, let us be fair on them. They have highlighted a number of reasons why they couldn't perform beyond the present performance they've given so far. They've cited the issue of capacity, infrastructure, and a whole lot of other things. Do you think that these reasons or factors they've highlighted is anything to go by? Mr. Uket, are you with us?
Well, if I can together what you are saying, the question I did not hear, I only had a good number of
what I was trying to say, what I was trying to ask you was, we need to be fair, because they have said that fine, they had some level of impediment, in discharging their duties, and that has really hampered their performance, right? And of course, they've listed a whole lot of other things, infrastructure and a whole lot of other stuffs. Do you think there is justification for all of that?
There is no such justification. And listen.
So you think they should perform 100%? Is that what you are saying?
It will go back to Kumbo car. If you are not expert in vehicles and motor mechanics, you go with a mechanic that examines that car, and it is called
Well, we do apologize for that break in transmission that's owing to poor network, where we hope to resolve it.
The report of quick will determine whether you want to lose access or not. But I want to let you know that most of these investors, particularly the
right. Yeah, once again, of course, we apologize for that poor transmission there. That's going to a very bad network. Mr. Uket, are you back?
Hello?
Well, I can hear you.
Hello?
Go ahead. Please go ahead. Mr. Uket, go ahead, please. Please go ahead. Well, if you are just joining us, my name is Bankole Louis Emmanuel, and of course, we've been discussing with Mr. Uket Okonga. Mr. Uket, can you hear me?
Hello?
Yes, can you hear me? Can you hear me?
I'm hearing you.
Okay, please go ahead. You were making a very salient point.
I'm hearing you.
Yeah, please go ahead. Go ahead.
What I'm saying is that the discos were supposed to have carried out due diligence on the power assets they were to invest in. We are aware that most of them did not carry out due diligence. And that was the number one error. The investors who came in bought the expression of interest form from the Ministry of Power and by Bureau for Public Enterprise. When they came in, the data and the information that were given to them, they were unable to verify, and they found out that this data, statistical data, was faulty. For instance, in 2006, the federal government of Nigeria conducted the first housing census, and according to the report from the National Population Commission and the Bureau for Public Enterprise, it was discovered that housing by lighting, distribution of housing by lighting, Nigeria had 10.4 million Nigerians in electricity. Now, when the Bureau for Public Enterprise prepared their documents, which was given out to the company's foreign investors who indicated interest and bought the expression of interest form, they used 5.2 million.
Right.
This data is there. This information is there. And these foreign investors, they have their high commissions and trade missions here in Nigeria who have this data. So when they came and discovered that what was presented to them was not true, cannot be verified, this is why they withdrew. And now our local investors and a few foreign collaborators, they came in and took over the power assets without conducting due diligence to determine the state of the infrastructure in their various franchise areas that they were going to invest in. So when this was not done, they came in and started shouting, "Oh, this is what we meant." Secondly, they were supposed to come in, they were supposed to have handed over these power assets to companies that have the 3 C's: capacity, the financial capacity, the technical capacity, and the managerial capacity born out of experience, cognate experience in running the power sector, privatized power sector. But you discover that these companies lack the 3 capacities: financial, technical, and managerial. So that is a problem. They handed over these assets to people who saw it as and they thought it is what happened in the communication industry, where you don't need transformers, you don't need to run poles and networks to be able to operate. And it was when they came in, they saw what happened. So these are the problems. They learn the capacity, the basic things to collect revenue from consumers is to meter the consumer, to meter the consumers. A meter determines and quantifies energy supply and energy use. If they are shouting, "We cannot collect money and are not ready to pay," is a ruse, is a fact, it's not true. Electricity business in Nigeria is a huge market with great potentials. The problem we have is that we have handed over power assets to men and women who are not ready, who are not prepared to run the show. That is why you have complaints from one another. We started with MITO. The MITO 2, it was
Mr. Uket.
MITO 2.1 of 2012 was amended.
Mr. Uket.
They get them incentives of fixed charges. If you give us fixed charges, we are going to perform.
Well, Mr. Uket, you seem to be faulting the privatization process.
And yet they are unable to come. What is the problem?
Okay, well, it seems as though
the privatization process is faulty.
Right.
It was a
right. Okay, let us know what is your opinion on the tariff increment.
Good idea to privatize. There's no doubt about that. That they have to revisit the models that were used for privatization.
Okay, what's your opinion on the new tariff increment?
Yes, listen. They said they are generating, transmitting, and distributing 1 kilowatt of electricity at 53 naira per unit. And they are selling at 31 naira. In other words, 22 naira is outstanding. And that is what they call the revenue shortfall. Revenue shortfall of 22 naira per unit of electricity. And they want to recover. And that is why they were advocating and looking for what they call cost reflective tariff. I am generating, I am transmitting, I am distributing at 53 naira per unit. But you are making me to sell it 81 naira per unit. So there is a gap, a revenue gap of 22 naira. And they say that should be closed. But the question is, how many Nigerians are in electricity? We were told recently by the spokesperson of ANES, Association of Nigeria Electricity Distributors, that there are 20 million Nigerians or over 20 million Nigerians in electricity. But we know that is not true. We are aware that there are close to 30 million Nigerians, households in electricity. And now you don't have data. You don't know the number of people you are selling your product to in a market that deals with data.
But
you don't have data in the sector. So
Mr. Uket,
the viability of that sector.
Mr. Uket,
you know the number of people who are going to sell your product to.
Mr. Uket, so you cannot say, you cannot claim that, you know, this discourse, and of course Gencos do not have data, you know, before going into the business. One of the claims were that they inherited a very poor electricity infrastructure in the country. We have some cables in Nigeria, you know, that are over 20 years old, 30 years old, 40 years old.
Excuse me, there's no doubt about it.
Right.
There is no doubt.
And of course, you know, this is a private business. You expect them to make profit.
It's a federal government-run company. Please let me enlighten you. There are certain information you need to know, which I believe you don't have.
Right.
Hello, are you hearing me?
Go ahead.
Transmission is in the hands of the federal government. TCN is wholly 100% owned by the federal government, run by a public servant, federal civil servants or whatever, a transmission company of Nigeria. The distribution companies and the Gencos, the investors hold 60% equity shares, and the federal government has 40%.
Right. Now,
when we are talking about infrastructure, that is what I was saying in the beginning. If they took the pain of conducting due diligence to look into what they were going into to determine the state infrastructure, perhaps some of them wouldn't have jumped into it. There is no doubt that there is need for expansion of both transmission and distribution networks. There is no doubt about it. But then, when we are talking of revenue, even at this moment, where they are supplying electricity and the number of people, we have a huge market. You must identify that market. You must know who and who is in that market. You must be able to do effective customer operation.
Well said, Mr. Uford. Well said.
The market. You must do the classification and identify the various classes.
Well said.
So this has not been done.
Right. Mr. Uford.
Who came in and they cashed in on the operation.
Mr. Uford.
Customer enumeration. Hello, hold on. Let me make this point. Hello?
Go ahead.
Hello?
Go ahead.
Yeah. The discos who came in and they told them, some of them discovered that they had more customers in their network than what was presented to them. So they cashed in on that. For instance, the discos, you go to their website, some discos will tell you we have 500,000 customers. Some will say 1,000, but when you go behind to find out, you discover that the disco that has 3.7 million active customers. They have captured and enumerated. The figure they gave to NERC is about 1.2 million, 1.15 million. Then the balance of 2.5 million is not accounted for. And that is what, because NERC himself, the commission does not have capacity to verify this information. They are hold up here in Abuja to cover entire country as fast as Nigeria.
Mr. Alford, you cannot make such claims.
To carry out the
Mr. Alford,
this
Mr. Alford.
The discourse are clean as a please. Yes?
Mr. Uket, excuse me. You can't make such claims that NERC does not have the capacity to know what the discourse, the number of customers that the discourse have. Having said that, let us quickly move on to the issues of the consumer, because they are the one who is directly affected here, right? Let us look at how this new tariff is going to affect the consumer. You represent the consumer. Of course, you are the National Secretary of Nigerian Electricity Consumer Network Association, if I get that right. Tell us, what do you feel? What exactly are the feelings of Nigerians at the moment? Well, we lost Mr. Uket Obonga there. Of course, I'm very, very much sure that he's going to join us shortly. But while we wait for him, let's quickly look at what Nigerians have to say. Okay. Okay. Alright, if you're just joining us, this still remains lunchtime discourse here on Vanguard Live TV. We're broadcasting to you from Lagos, Southwest Nigeria. Well, Mr. Uket Obonga joins us live from Abuja. Go ahead, Mr. Uket.
Are you hearing me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Yeah, I am saying that we have document, whatever information I'm giving with in relationship to data, I am not just reeling out figures.
Right.
There is evidence, there is data.
Mr. Okay, let us look at how the consumers are affected in all of this. They are the one who are the receiving end of some of the major policies taken by the stakeholders and of course active players in this industry. Let us look at how they are affected, right? Because you of course represent the consumers. Tell us what you think would be the effect on the consumers.
It's everything that is being done wrong affects the consumers. For instance, we are talking of tariff review here.
Right.
And why are they asking for tariff review? Every time you be hearing, they are asking for more money to be paid by consumers. Why are they asking? They tell you they are not collecting enough revenue. They tell you the efficient network.
All right, Mr. Uket.
In Nigeria, before transmission, distribution.
Mr. Uket, Mr. Uket, sorry to cut you in. My director is telling me now that I don't have much time left. But then before we go, because of course I'm going to bring you back, Mr. Uket, just a moment, please.
Problems.
Mr. Uket, just a moment, please. Just a moment, please. Just a moment. Okay, well, my director is telling me now that I don't have much time left. But then before we go, of course, because I'm going to bring you back on this show, and of course, someone from the industry who happens to be maybe from the disco, I would like them to respond to some of these issues you have raised here. But then before we go, I'd like you to tell us what are the major issues staring the power sector in the face, and what do you think we should do going forward?
Yeah, thank you for that question. It's a very important question. Number one, let's begin with the governance, the sector governance.
Right.
The federal government has to put an efficient and competent men and women to regulate the power sector. The power sector all over the world is regulated men and women who have the competence, not just an electrical engineer or an accountant, but you have cognate experience and you have done somewhere before you are brought in. And we have Nigerians that can do that. Number two, we need to determine the number of Nigerians who are in electricity, because we have a huge market. And
all right, Mr. Uketo Bonga, thank you very much. Mr. Uketo Bonga, thank you very much. Thank you very much. Well said. But then before you go, just one last one, a very quick one, 30 seconds. What advice do you have for the federal government of Nigeria and of course NERC, the National Electricity Regulatory Company or Commission, right? Can you hear me? Yes, tell us what advice
that is workable.
Right.
Hello?
Yes, please go ahead. Your advice for NERC, National Electric Regulatory Commission. Please go ahead.
The commission should sit up to deliver on its mandate.
Right.
They should stop pandering to the caprice of the discourse.
Right.
They should be fair to all stakeholders, the operators, the investors, the consumers.
Right.
They are not appointed in the commission to serve the discourse only. They should know that their actions will impact negatively on the national economy and the
Mr. Uketo Bonga, many thanks for coming on the show. Well, Mr. Uketo Bonga is the National Secretary, Nigeria Electricity Consumer Advocacy Network, NERC. And of course, he has been, giving us a very, very deep insight into what we need to know on the new tariff and of course the implication on the Nigerian economy. Of course, this is not going to end here. Of course, he has raised a lot of silent issues that we would of course want someone from Disco to really respond to, and we hope to host him again. I think by next week we should be having Mr. Uket, back in the studio. So just keep a date with us. Of course, it's going to be very, very interesting moment. Then, well, do not forget to like and share, this on all our social media showing on your screen. And of course, do not forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel, Vanguard NGR TV. And of course, for breaking stories, visit our website, www.vanguardngr.com. There you would find a very interesting story. Well, it is bye from all of us here at Vanguard Live TV. My name remains Bankole Emmanuel.